Second.
Motion is second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. And we then have May the 14th, 2019. Approval minutes from May 14th, 2019, Finance Committee meeting. Again, we've had those to review. Any questions, comments, or corrections? Good. Hearing none, entertain a motion to approve.
Again, make a motion that we approve May 14th, 2019 Financial Committee meeting.
Second.
Motion second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Just a note before we go any further, our mayor is out of town with city business today, so he will not be here this evening. So our president and council, when we get the full council, will be chairing that meeting. Next on the agenda is invoices to be recommended for payments. It's $119,066.09 for this period. And as you turn to it, we'll take them all in a moment. We'll take time to go through the invoices for any questions. But as you're going through it, one thing to note, and the clerk will explain this in a moment, if you go to the second set, or the set of five, you got a set of 6, and a set of 1, and a set of 5 before you get to your P cards. On that, on page 5 of 5, on the last page before P cards, you see grand totals written in ink is 15,000. At the very top, there's a number of 5,182 without connection with it. If you added that up item by item, it comes out to a different number, 20,000. Connie can explain this a little better what that is. That 5,000 is not actually an invoice for us to pay. We got stuck on that sheet, but that's actually part of the payroll. So the correct number is the 15,531.43 cents, and the total is 119,000. So, any questions about that one item before we go line by line? So if you did your math and didn't have that explanation, you'd come out with a different total. Is that a fair explanation?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's the employee retirement. On the payroll.
And payroll, of course, is separate and not counted in with our invoices, but got stuck on that printout. Now we'll go through it. Any questions you have on the invoices, and we'll start with.
I'm really good on it. I really like this, what you're all doing with the purchase. It makes everything so much better to read. Of course, it matches everything's on the cards too. So
Like,
I like it very, very well. I don't have anything wrong. Everything looks good.
So any citizens, what Councilman Hughes is referring to is purchase order, and then there's, if you hear, how that's set up, and then there's a spreadsheet to cross-reference to your P cards and things. Councilman Thompson.
Just a couple of notes. On Form 6, there was a random drug test, and I'm just asking, are we still actively doing random drug tests in different counties?
they do the seal,
CDO.
yes.
And then, do we ever actively do the police and fire in the rest of the city?
They did some, yes. Back when we was going on.
I don't know, that's why I'm
Not
asking.
all, but pretty much.
I knew that it started in public works. I didn't know it spread throughout the rest of the city.
Just about everybody but a few city hall employees, for example, but otherwise anybody would be.
No, they got all City Hall. They did one shift on fire and one shift on police.
As long as it was equal. 5, 6, I don't know whose idea this was, but it was a great idea. They cleaned the chairs at City Park building. Was that your idea, Bob? Say yes.
Yes.
And that's
Take
what
credit.
Really, I gotta say, it was really Johnny Breeze caretaker. He told me about it, we went for a look at it, and then we went from there.
Right. I mean, like I said, when I was in the first year, they were definitely,
No, they use chairs.
well invested money. We should be getting money back on this. Way back on the people, 4. This is what we did at Mount Airy class for $1,285. Was that the class? I thought so. And then the other things, the 4,700 and the 7,600.
Trailers, of course.
Was that all of our public works stuff that we got? Leonard Building and South Charleston. 2 trailers. And then Kyle Hardware, was that all the last? That's all.
Those items that she's referencing were already approved by council before, they're just working their way through the payment system.
I had one I'd like to ask about, Scott, about on page 106, very first page. It says backhoe oil and grease, $534. Yeah, this sounds like a lot of money.
Well,
Is it a oil change and grease? Or?
no, it's all the different things that go with, the new equipment. It's a type of grease that lasts a whole lot longer. And I got 36 tubes of it.
I imagine you can buy some stock there.
It's just 10 times better than the one over here, the Advantage. You putting it in there every day. This lasts for 2 weeks, 3 weeks each time I put it.
That's why they like it.
And the questions either, just an observation, of course, some of the citizens, when you see every council meeting, we have these amounts of invoices. Included in that is some things that pass through. For example, when people come to court and they're assessed and they pay, the city collects it, but then in these, such as this one here, was invoices where we then forward that money into the police escrow fund as part of their ticket fees and those kind of things. So when you see that 119,000, that is all invoices paid properly and accounted for, but some of them are pass-throughs that go into other accounts, such as the escrow, even occasionally some refunds where there's this time somebody overpaid their garbage bill and have to refund them. So the majority of that, 95%, is stuff that operates the city, but occasionally it's a pass-through or a refund and those kind of things. Any other questions?
I haven't,
We've looked at our invoices, again totaling $119,066.09. We have a motion for these to full council for payment.
I make a motion to send it to council, $119,066.09 for payment of the invoices.
I'll second it.
Motion is second, any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, we have some ordinances to work through. This first one is the second reading of ordinance 777, amending section 721.08. And we discussed this last time. The reason it comes through finances because it's about those who make deliveries in the city limits have to purchase a license, so it involves finances. So we had our first reading, it passed last time. And again, it's just making sure our codes match everything we're doing because we've hired a company called Datamax to collect B&O while people go business in our town that haven't been registering. But we had to match our codes also to say that they have to register to do business. So we had our first reading. We went over that. Any other questions since the last meeting? Hearing none, entertain a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 777, section 721.08, which approves.
Reverend Hudson?
Yes,
Greg?
I'm sorry. Question?
That's okay. Concerning those deliveries, does that include like Grubhub and DoorDash and that's delivering fast foods or foods?
Yes.
Maybe it'll damn much.
That's good. We know it's the obvious, like Coke and Pepsi and the large vendors, you know, but when it gets to the little things like that, it'll be there if Datamax feels they can use that. How they will enforce it.
I'll mention that to them.
Okay, because I think it's Wendy's and maybe McDonald's is promoting that now, where they will home delivery, so like you have to get out of your house.
It's all of them, it's
Like
Charleston, to
Yeah.
to go and all of them.
Yeah. So I just wondered.
That's a good question. We'll have to check.
Yeah.
Reverend Hudson, do we ever determine how much these license will cost?
It's in our,
It would be the same as all
Same.
licenses.
yes,
I don't do that off the top of my head.
license are $5, $15 general license.
Okay, well, I never heard that discussed.
The rates are
Yeah,
not
it's in our
adjusted.
pool.
Okay.
Any other questions? Council? Hearing none, we have a motion to send to full council our recommendation for the second reading approval of this ordinance.
I make a motion for the second reading of ordinance 777, amended section 721.08 of the codified ordinance to vote for council.
Motion, we have a second.
That's second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And we have two first readings coming up. Approval of the first reading of ordinance 779, amending section 759.01, take some time to explain this. We actually dealt with this on May the 14th in those minutes, but since then, we've had time to get the actual ordinance fleshed out. Councilman Scipio's committee approved it and sent it on to us. The first one you see there, if you've got your agenda, 75901. This is dealing with municipal service fees. We've got two ordinances. One is municipal fee and one is your refuse fee. And we traditionally get those. Yeah, 779, section 759.01. Thank you. Yeah, so you get your bill as just one fee, but it's split into what is municipal, what is trash, and which way it goes in the budget. On this first one, the municipal service fee, I'll go ahead and explain it. And I think there's copies back there as well, if anybody wants to look at it or read it, every line item of it. What it is now, your municipal fee and your refuse fee, you get a bill once a quarter for $75. So we've got two things that these two ordinances will change. One is the billing cycle. Instead of once a quarter, we'll start billing once a month. Just like sewer does, and virtually everything that you do in life is once a month. It just makes it easier for the citizen to plan the budget, to be ready to pay. And what we keep running into is people come in and say they can't afford that, but if it was $25 a month, they could afford it, but they couldn't afford $75 a quarter. So part of it is changing to monthly. And then the other part is changing the rate. Now, both of these will go into effect in October, because the way the ordinance is written, you have to have two readings and then 45 days after it's passed before it goes into effect. And of course, October is longer than 45 days, but the next billing cycle will be July, and that's less than 45 days. So July will still be quarterly billing for $75. When we get to October, then it will start monthly billing, if approved, at the new rates in there. And so I'll explain first why we're doing this, or presenting it. It's not going to prove why we're presenting it, and then we'll go down through and look at the actual dollars. One, just every few years, you have to review your municipal fees and your refuse fees, because the costs keep going up. And it's been, the last time this was reviewed was 7 years ago. And so there's been a lot of inflation, cost of trucks, et cetera. But the biggest factor is trying to fund a pension plan for the firemen's pension. We'll talk about this more in full council. But the firemen's pension plan, as exists today, is $13.6 million unfunded liability. And our annual budget is $6.7 million. So you can do the math. And the cost of that is went up and up and up and up. We're almost $500,000 a year we're putting in right now. And if we do not make any changes in the next 3 to 5 years, there's a chart from the state that shows us we'll be nearing the $1 million a year mark we have to contribute to it. Yeah, so that's an unsustainable pace. So what we've already done is, as through finance and in full council, we've elected to close the current pension fund. That doesn't mean that fund is closed out, liquidated. It means it's closed to new hires. So any new firemen that will be hired after July the 1st will go into a statewide pension fund instead of a localized pension fund. It's the same thing that the police did, 6 years ago. About 6 years ago. Yeah, and that's the only way, and many cities are having to do this. It's an unsustainable pace, the whole system. And so that part has been done. We're working on the paperwork for that to make sure that that's in place, so the new hires go on that. Congruent with that is the current pension system for the current employees and those that have already retired. That is what would essentially changes funds, but it's essentially a refinancing. So with that, it will cause the cost to go up now, but it will be a sustainable thing. Instead of going shooting to $1 million, we're looking at, we have to generate $700,000 a year to keep it where, with interest building in as well, to keep it where it will be sustainable. Neither one is easy. We had a third option to look at. The third option, in one sense, would have been the best. It would have fully funded this the quickest. That would mean we'd have to go up to near $800,000 a year starting July 1. And it's just not possible. In our current budget this year coming up, we're projecting $500,000 a year out of budget. And that's an enormous amount. I want to make clear, and if I have the opportunity to make clear in full council as well, this is not a fault of the firemen. They simply are hired and sign contracts. That's the contract negotiated, offered to them, and it talks about the pension. They've been asking for years for this to be corrected. The problem has been previous decades, not just one or two sets of councils, but go back decades. It's been kicked down the road, it's not been addressed, and so there's been a lot of consternation, aggravation at this council for addressing it, but it's got to be addressed. If you don't address it, it will go bankrupt, and then you've got two problems. You've got a moral problem because you made a commitment to employees, and then in another sense, the worst problem, you've got a legal problem. Huntington experienced this. They went to, did they actually get in default, Chief, or did they get salvaged just before default? Okay. And you saw all the bad press, and they had to lay off firemen, et cetera. So this is all part of a restructuring of that. In our current budget, we were budgeting $500,000. But we, again, as I mentioned, already need to generate a minimum of $200,000 beyond that. And so with this, there is an adjustment in the rate, not only the billing cycle, but in the rate, and it will generate just shy of $5 a month from every citizen in business in town that will go into that fund as well. And on a 12-month cycle, that should generate $200,000. This first year will be slightly less because we'll only have 3 quarters instead of 4 because of that 45-day clause. However, in this first year, we will also have income though from Datamax, and we've already got 20, so there's 25,000 funds from Ogle and Ogle and Atkins. That's the collections on old municipal fees. So there's 25 in there already towards this year. We've been promised that Datamax will be able to collect a large amount, so all those go into the fund. Now, those are monies that will dry up. That's why we've got to do something long-term. But those will go in, and that'll help offset the miss in the first quarter. Once you get to the 4 quarters, it'll come out to that. So in this first ordinance, it is on the municipal fees, doing 2 things: changing quarterly to monthly, and then changing the rate to $13 a month for individuals, or whether you're a rental or homeowner, either one. It's $13 a month for that, and $25 a month for businesses. And for the individual citizen, instead of $25 a month, it'll cause your rates to go to $30 a month. So that's the municipal fee. The second ordinance will come to in a moment. I'm just trying to explain them both before we have any other discussion here. Is the trash side of it, because since they're both in the same bill, the trash is essentially no change in the cost to the citizen, but it does have to be addressed because it changed from quarterly to monthly. And the ordinance also addresses businesses that receive trash collection more than once a week. That's addressed in here as well, to catch up on that as well. So that's the 2 ordinances. We'll start first with the ordinance on the municipal fee, and I'll explain what it is, and we'll open for any questions or comments from
like I said, we've been discussing these things for last year and now 2 years. It has to be done, so I'll make a motion.
If you're ready.
I'll make a motion when we take full council ordinance number 779 for the assessment of municipal fees, section 759.01.
So we have a motion. Again, we actually dealt with this last week, but now it's actually written out black and white for us. So we have a second.
I'll second, then I just have one comment. The municipal service fee, it was raised once in 1990, and we raised it again in 2012, but that's 29 years, and it's only been raised $15. And then in 1995, the garbage was raised, and then we raised it again in 2012. That was 24 years, and it's only been raised $15. If you all can think back 29, 24 years ago, gas was lower, utilities were lower, groceries were lower. To only have that amount of raise, $25 in 29, 24 years, I think that, considering the operations of the city, the insurance going up, health insurance, life insurance, being able to maintain those things for our employees, I think it's important that equipment, allowing them to have equipment. I think it's very important that, I know nobody likes to raise, I'm not really happy when I open my bills and 13 instead of the 25, but you have to raise things in order to maintain things. You can't just go 29 or 24 years without raising something.
With a motion, second, before we vote any other, we'll make an explanation in the finance meeting. We allow other elected council members to voice, they can't vote, only on this council that they can voice. Public comments are held until full council. But any other council members that are not on this have anything they want to voice, pro or con, before we take a vote. Hearing no more comments, all in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. And that was on the first one that deals with the municipal fee. We'll go to the second. If you're looking at your agenda, that is ordinance 780, section 95105. And again, this is on your trash side. And it'll make it essentially the rate for the trash has not been altered, but again, the billing cycle has been, so it has to come back. And if you read through that, each family unit will be 17 a month, which combined with the 13 for municipal makes you 30 a month. But the increase is on the municipal side. And then also there's a breakdown for businesses. If they're once a week, it's 20 a month. If it's twice a week, they're 30 a month. If it's 3 times a week, it's 40. If it's 4 times, it's 50. If it's 5 times, it's 60. And then you see an $80 a month for Kanawha County Schools. So it breaks down the business rates as well. Again, this one is not nearly as complex. It's just a matter of changing it from quarterly to monthly, and also clarifying about the businesses that get more than once a week pickup. Is that a fair explanation? Councilman Scipio from your committee. Any questions on this? Again, this is not a dollar change, it's just a billing cycle change. We have a motion to send to full council this adjustment in ordinance 780, section 95105.
I make a motion to send 780 amendment section 951.05, talk about bills to full council.
I second.
Motion second. Any comments or any other council members have a comment on this? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. And just, I'll add one thing to clarify. If you're wondering if there were other methods, the state of West, to raise extra funds, the state of West Virginia strongly regulates cities and how they generate their funds. Familiar with home rule. Home rule is a new program to give a little bit of flexibility, and that allows the 1% sales tax. But essentially, the state of West Virginia says the city has to generate funds, basically through B&O tax. And then if you're home rule, you get a 1% sales tax. And you have some small things such as building permit applications and business license fees, and those are little things. And then your municipal fee, your trash fee is really not generating funds, it's just paying for what you're picking up and dumping. So really, that is all that there is allowed by the state. We're not allowed to have a city income tax. We're not allowed to do anything else. The only other possible method of generating more revenue than we've got is something I don't think any of us want to touch or even go towards, and that's the user fee. And that is allowed by the state, but I don't think none of you all want that. None of us want that. And so it's been asked, are there other options? By state code, this is generally the only other option we've got. And municipal fee is for fire and police, so we're using that source of funding. Going down to, that's all of our ordinances to look at on this meeting. Now, we do have a couple other things to discuss. No other action to vote on, but a couple other things to discuss. One, the mayor had asked about a city logo for vehicles, and it's not a vote, but he just asked for any consensus on that. It would be about, you saw his memo, it costs about $40 a vehicle to get them logoed. If we go with the one that's proposed, it's similar to the sanitary board. So I would encourage you, it's not a voter thing, but to let the mayor know if you like that logo, and so we can get with it so our vehicles look better. It's minimal cost, but we do need some way to let them know. I think they look good, especially at that cost as well. I like the sanitary board. Any comment? Again, this is not a vote, it's just a moment to discuss it. Since it doesn't qualify, it's just be about $40 cheaper.
I think it's a long overdue situation where all our vehicles don't look the same. Same thing with our police cars, all fire trucks look the same. I mean, everything on them look, be identified as a city vehicle, one street.
Any other council have any comments on the logo proposal, if you're comfortable with it?
It says
Building inspector needs one.
senior services is being taken care of. When's it being taken care of? There's that one still on the plaque they was on.
Well, they pulled, I think they got that off there
As of,
Friday, I think. They took it somewhere to get that, because they thought, it was, you know, but they did get that off there and
Next to
they are taking it somewhere, but
okay.
the senior got flooded over the weekend, so they've been down there all day mopping and cleaning. So, yeah, they are.
I've been for last week.
She's might got a couple of estimates. We would mark like the other one, I think.
So, unless I hear different from the other council, I would say, clerk, let the mayor know, if he's not here, I think everybody's comfortable with that logo. It would get us looking a lot better than we look now. Sometimes it's embarrassing to leave those out there now, so we improvement. So, then we want to jump down. There's no other new business or old business, but we'll go down to the clerk's report, and our clerk has 3 reports. She has our short budget, she has our statement of accounts, and she has our schedule of revenue and expenditures. So we'll start with the short budget.
Yeah, I did give everybody a short budget. I don't know if anybody had any questions or not.
We should be at 83% if you're wanting to know where we should be. How quickly, and the clerk would answer any questions. We'll go down through it on the expenditure side. If you start on page 6 of 16, 6 of 16, the expense side. If you go down on that first page, everything's in alignment of around 83% or less. On the next page, police judge, it's a little high. We have to adjust that at the end, but we do that, and then there's already been adjustment for next year. That's because the court's been so busy.
Yeah, we had 2 clerks on that.
Yeah. So again, we'll need to make an adjustment, and also that's been accounted for in next year's budget. Some of these are already done. Regional Development Authority, it's under budget, but it's complete for the year. And you go down, you get down to election. It was actually over. We have to make an adjustment, and we corrected that in next year's budget as well to account for some things. Because primary is next year.
Yes. Yes.
So we accounted for that. So we are doing our primary election in conjunction, it's next fiscal year in conjunction with state and federal, so that will save us a lot of money over previous times. If you go to page 8, 16, everything is either around 80 or under, 80% or under. Page 9, 16, school guards is actually a little high, but they're almost done. So they'll be fine because their payroll's almost done. Fire department is just slightly above, if we do that, we, again, for next year, we've already made an adjustment in their operating budget, and we'll correct that one at the end. It's just 2 or 3 point, well, 88%, 5%, so it's not bad. Community center, and that one is,
That's Teresa.
yeah, that was just a little high, but it's much per spending done for the year already.
Yes.
So it'll come out okay.
Taylor is one of yours.
Okay. You going down, street is very close, just over here. They'll be enough to balance out. The others are in safe range. Go to page 11. The stormwater MS4, that is at 0. And if you were following our budget for next year, that money will be rolled over plus others added to it because that's money to build the new salt plant down at the Public Works. Parks and Recs. Convention is actually slightly high, but they're almost done. They've only got like one event.
Yeah, it's taking part of it.
Yeah, so they're on track, even though they're slightly high now, because theirs is front loaded. Library, it's at 100%. We paid all our quarters to the library. And Shawnee Pool is slightly under, but it'll catch up fast because it opens Friday, Saturday. Here, beautification, it's done. We've already paid it. And AG program is on track. So any questions for the clerk? Because again, everything is either right where it should be or slightly under, or we understand why if something's over, we're going to make an adjustment.
We talk about that.
Yeah. So we're looking at the revenue side.
I'm looking at revenue, the property taxes, we're like 59%. Will we get another shot before we get it?
We just got another one Friday.
to vote on this.
And what that is, that's prior years, like, it's way down, like, it's down even more. But when I was doing comparative at the same time last year, our property taxes are up about 50, but not, you know,
Then the hotel tax was going 77. Was that one shut down already?
I'm not sure
The
what.
one by
there?
acquisition. Well, I thought I was asking.
Is that all they did?
Oh, well, they didn't give you permits, so they gotta come down. The only thing I recall from all the new mirrors and magnets and stuff, that's what they did.
I just wondered if it's down 7, it's down like 8 or 9%. So I was wondering, I know the one over by Witness, it says it's pretty busy. But I was thinking like that.
Everybody's waiting until this one gets sold and changed. It's got to be finished first.
I think it fell through. I thought heard it fell through myself, but I don't know.
Fell through, same guy keeps calling me, do about matters.
It has a new sign, so they call them off or something.
Yeah, but somebody was gonna buy it.
Yeah, it's not been finalized.
Yeah. I think they're short set of or something.
Okay, on the next page.
That's what Jimmy told me
I
last
just wonder
year.
about the age, it's only like 1%.
Page 2.
Yeah. Or is that the figure? Is age?
Where you at?
Page 2 of 16,
Okay.
96%, and then 19%.
AG transportation is so good.
So they still do.
No, they don't do any of that turn. Yeah.
Can they go on?
Talking
Calls.
about reimbursement.
Yeah,
MTN is taking with a different company, and they had a lot more requirements and everything, so they wanted GPS, us pay for GPS, everything like that, and really wasn't worth it. I mean, I didn't feel so that they came in and told me about it.
That's it.
Any questions in the short version?
yeah, probably, next council for, within the next two councils, we'll have to adjust it, so the council, we talked about that, so we'll get, and we've got some purchases, like the vehicle, the trucks, so we'll have to add some money for that fund. So, we'll get all those done for next council, probably.
You have your statement of accounts. Clerk gives us, and again, those, if you would be careful with those on account of it does include a couple of numbers. Feel free to tell any citizen asks about the dollar amounts, but I'm talking about some of the other information on there. But you see those, each account, the general account, money market pool has increased $15,391.45 since last. Short-term bond is up to $783. Some interest in things. And the investment fund is at $450, which is interest that's gained. And then the fireman's pension fund we talked about, they had $56.30 of interest, but they also had a deposit of $4,750.25. And again, it was some more magnets of collections, some more collections from old refuge fees. Yeah, I said, Connie's correct. I said 20 some, it's almost 30, it's 29,768.74.
Another one there for,
And so any money from the old collections, after visa formula goes there, once data max starts, that will go there. Then as you read the ordinance, it's back there, starting in October with the change, if it passes full council on 2 readings, that increase would go as well, to increase along with the $500,000 a year we're budgeting. So you've got your statement of accounts, any questions real quick? And you've got your scheduled revenues and expenses for the month. Any highlights? I'll go through them. Any highlights you want to go on? You can see your scheduled revenues to show where we're at compared to previous years. Our revenues for April, which if you look at it, it goes up and down because of different taxes. So April is a good month. The 2 months prior, it gets quarterly cycles. 2 months prior were very low, but April is a good month. It's slightly over $1 million revenue. And that's up over the previous two years of April's.
and we may have a shortfall till May and June. We may have paid early, so
So we have to wait and see the last two. But
Right.
it shows us, at the present, revenues of 6.2 million for the year. Again, we've got two months left in the fiscal year. Then on the expense side, it's 479,000 for the month. And, again, that was a little more, it was about 80,000 more than last year, but only a few thousand more than a couple years before, because that's bounces around as well. But for the year, it shows us expenditures of 5.6 million, so we're still in the black at just 572, so $500,000. Yeah, again, by the state of West Virginia, we have to end the year to balance budget. It's always good if we have a surplus, and we actually have to have $235,000 surplus to balance next year's budget. So we not only have to balance this year, but we have to make sure we at least have 235 to balance our proposed budget to the state next year. But the state of West Virginia does require a balanced budget. So keep that in mind. Anytime that anybody asks for anything, if it's something we hadn't already planned for, that means something else has to be cut. It's just the way it works, just like on fixed income. Make adjustment. Any questions for the clerk on revenues and expenditures and where we're at? Any other financial business for the city of Dunbar? Clerk's giving us all her reports. The mayor's not here, of course, sometimes has items. Hearing nothing else about finances, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Thank you.
Are we done?